Hey guys, got another video today, and today I'm going to go through another settings guide in Battlefield 5, like an updated one in 2024. I didn't realise actually almost 2 years since my last settings video. That's crazy how like time flies. There are new things to mention, as well as I've moved to 1440p, some things to mention on that. This will go over like PC, console settings as well, aim assist, some windows, run the game better, more FPS, how to set up like a config file, and then we go like through in-game settings and discuss that. Pretty much everything I've learned over the years in Battlefield 5, hopefully help you out. I will be referencing like previous videos on the channel for like individual settings. If you like to go a bit deeper and watch like a 10-minute video on like one individual setting, I try and make this video like as brief as I can, but yeah, it's there if you want it, if you can go deeper in more detail. I have put some timestamps below, so you can go to whatever you'd like to know. I won't keep you waiting. I'll get straight into the video. I think we're going to start with Windows first. There's a few things you can do to just get more FPS. Some things are good for like 0.1, 1% lows and stuff like that, and just more FPS. So first thing you do is go to background apps, make sure all these are turned off. Yeah, you can get better FPS and 0.1, 1% lows. Make sure that's off. Another thing you do is game mode settings. Now this is just from my experience with this setting. It depends on what game you're playing, the update that you're currently on. I have for a long time played with this off, but I think from my testing recently of Battlefield 5 in its current state, as it's updated and as I'm recording this video, you want it on. It's a lot better for your 0.1, 1% lows. Keep it on. Make sure, go to display, make sure your scale is at 100%. I have in the past run 125%, just a bit easier on the eye. Since I've sort of moved to 1440p, like going from 1080p, it's a bit the icon's a bit small, it's just a bit easier on the eye, 125%, but make sure it's on 100% scaling, because if you don't, it reintroduces mouse acceleration into the game. So if you're playing Battlefield 5 and you're running Windows in 125%, you will be getting mouse acceleration. So there's probably a period of time in Battlefield 5 where I was playing with that and I unknowingly didn't realize that I was playing with it on. Yeah, so you make sure that's 100%. And actually, talking about mouse acceleration, you just type in mouse settings, go to here, additional mouse settings, pointer option, make sure it's off. That's mouse acceleration, enhanced pointer precision. Make sure it's off. Yeah, so if you don't run 100% scaling, like 125 or above, this will reactivate in Battlefield 5 and your games and stuff like that. Obviously, like for the vast majority of people, I think mouse acceleration, you're better off with it off, I would say. Yeah. Another thing you can do is, if you go to Battlefield 5, you can either do it by the shortcut or just for this video, just to show you. Go to the file location, get Battlefield 5 out, right click on it, properties, make sure you're running, disable full screen optimizations, run as an admin. You can do it on the BF5 trial as well, just make sure there's no like conflict there or anything like that. Disable full screen, run as an admin. I think that's just good practice for a lot of games, especially like DX11 games and stuff like that. If although there's kind of like a dying breed, isn't it now, like DX11 games, but it's good practice, I would say. Whilst we're here in the files, you can actually make a user config file to get like more FPS, or for example have the FPS in the top right corner that you've seen in my videos and other creators' videos and stuff like that. You get a nice FPS boost as well. Yeah, so this is the config file I use, the one at the top. So if another thing is, if you record, say like with GeForce Experience and stuff like that, if you have some clips of like 720p, this fixes it as well. You've got to put the window height 2560 by 1440. That's what I'm on, 1440p. If you play 1080p, just change that to like 1920. to 1080, it'll be fine. GameTime.MaxVariableFps, that's for unlocking your FPS. When you set it to 0, it's just unlocked FPS. You can set it to like 240 if you want, or whatever you want. Now, you can use an anti-aliasing config file. You will get an FPS boost. I don't tend to run it. I think it makes the game a bit unstable. I get more crashes with it on. Just the fact that I played a lot of this game on console, and I'm just used to not having it on. Do you know what I mean? Or not having it off. Sorry, the anti-aliasing. But you can do that if you'd like to. I have made a video in the past talk about it. We'll go into more detail on how to enable that or disable it. Sorry. I'll leave a little link in the top right corner or in the description. Go give it a go. It only works in DX11, not DX12. You have to set in-game motion blur to 1%. But just for the context of this video, I can quickly show you how to do it. So say if you want this one here, you would just go, okay, that's what I want. You delete, you go File, Save As. Make sure you're in the game. Make sure in the file folder for the game. Here we go, right. And just type in user.cfg, and then you go to all files, and then you'd save it. That's how you do it. Save it, boom. I'm not going to save it just for the purposes that I've already done it. You can see it here. That's the last one I done. User CFG file. That's when you've done it right. You should be getting your FPS in the top right corner, and your clips and stuff should be at 1440p. So then I'm going to share my Nvidia control panel settings. We go into here. These are my settings. I would say using these settings, you probably get like 1, 2 to 3, maybe 4 FPS more. It's not as much as people think. I think these Nvidia control panel settings, but here you go. These are my settings here. I'll just show you here. I would say don't bother with this. That's just for me, like playing Skyrim or New Vegas. I can just play at 4K. It's not really important for this video. If you want more FPS, just turn it off. Don't worry about that. Fix refresh. There you go. I'll just show you the settings. Yeah, you should be getting another 3 to 4 FPS. One more thing before we move into Battlefield 5 is get the EA app open. Now I tend to run, I pretty much just turn everything off. EA app, it can be a bit finicky. It causes crashes a lot of the time. Sometimes it just doesn't function at all. Unfortunately, it's not a very good like game launcher and stuff like that. But there's a few things you can do to make it a bit better and reduce like input lag in game and stuff like that. And one thing is you just turn everything off. Usage sharing, turn off. Application, just turn everything off. In-game overlay, that sort of affects input lag and stuff like that. Another thing I've noticed, if you have awaiting friend requests in your friends list, that can cause like input lag. So make sure you just quickly accept or decline, to get it out, because when they're awaiting it, there's input lag and stuff like that. That's something I've noticed. And another thing is, before you play Battlefield 5, make sure eApp is open and it's in the settings screen. So either this screen here, the application here. Don't close it or minimize it. Make sure it's open, and then you just start Battlefield 5, and then you play Battlefield 5 with this open in the background. It seems to just run better in game. Just from my experience over the last few months of doing this, I sort of found this on like forums and just trying to make this app run better. It seems to do quite well. So that's another little tip for you. And I think that's it for like Windows and stuff like that. I think we're going to go into game now. So here we are in Battlefield 5. As you can see, I've got the FPS in the top right corner. That's that's the config file. That's what you should be getting if you like to run the config file. And I think every settings video I just go, just a bit of fun, just have a look at my stats, see how I'm performing. obviously rank 500. Got a bit more time played. Score per minute, I think it's probably a bit higher. Wins, I don't know. KD, I think it's 5.06. I'm not sure what it was last time. I think it was 4.8 or something. So, you know, nice little increase. Yeah, so, you know, just improving as you play. It's good to see. So going to controls, 7% in-game sensitivity. That's what I've been using for the past couple of years now at 800 DPI. It's just a good sensitivity for me. I think it works out about 32.5 centimeters for 360. I think it's around about that sort of area. Yeah, that's what I've been using. I have made a video. If you want to, I'll leave a little link in the top right if you want to try and find your sensitivity in Battlefield 5. If you want to go and have a watch in more detail. Soldier stick aim sensitivity, that's my controller setting, 70%. It was good from what I remember. It was good. It was quick enough at sort of close range where I could turn on people, and it was slow enough so I could play that mid-range game and still remain accurate. Again, it's all personal preference, but soldier aim sensitivities, this is when you zoom aim, this is when you ADS 100%, so it's the same as your hip fire sense, and then ADS sense should be the same. Soldier sprint, toggle, double tap to slide. I have that on the mouse button, the left mouse button, sorry. Zoom scope, soldier leaning, I have that on toggle. I have to set the leaning to Q and E, so lean left is Q, lean right is E. Vehicle again, that's exactly the same as my aim and sensitivity, 7%. Gamepad, I think I'm just going to leave that for a second. I'm going to return to that in a minute. Aiming, stick aiming, that's another controller setting. I'd say, you know, just keep that on the 0% if you are a controller player. You don't want any acceleration on the X and Y axis. You want it 100% up, the same speed as up as from left to right. You want the same speed so it's consistent. Uniform soldier aiming, I play that on. This setting, essentially what it does is any sight zoom, it makes it so it's the same sensitivity. So the game sort of calculates, so every single, it doesn't matter if you're using a 1x, a 3x, or 4x, or 3x, 8x, whatever x, your sensitivity will be to your sensitivity. And with it off, if you set this to off, you will have to work out your own sensitivity or have a different sensitivity for different sites. So for a lot of players, I would just recommend having it on, so it's just a singular setting for everything. Uniform soldier aiming, I play that on at a coefficient of 133. I would say, you know, if you sort of experimenting with this, I'd say, you know, popular settings are 178, or, you know, like my setting, 133 or 0%. So that's 3 little settings you can try if you're inclined to do so. Vehicle aiming, again, exactly, vehicle stuff exactly the same as my infantry sort of settings. Vehicle control, I don't really use vehicles that much, so these are my settings. Because I use uniform soldier aiming, that's on. All these are just the aim and sensitivity, or 100%. Yeah. Right, controller settings. We got mouse settings. Yeah, so raw mouse input. If you're a mouse and keyboard, I'm not really sure that's in controller settings, but have that on. I think controller vibration. You, from what I remember, you just turn it off because, you know, it can affect your aim and stuff like that. It's better just like if you're playing like single player games, you just want it on all the time, you know, like for the immersion. But for multiplayer FPS games, you know, with very low dead zones and stuff like that, you would turn vibration off. Just talking about like dead zones and stuff like that, I think this is the best that I can get on my controller. I got a Xbox Elite, the second version, like version 2. I can't remember what it's called. I managed to get to like 11, 12. I think Xbox controllers the dead zones are quite high. I think if you're on a PlayStation, you can get the dead zones a lot lower, from what I remember. So how you set this, you just just get in game, just lower these settings, and then when you get like stick drift and it's like drifting off like that, you can see it. You just up it a bit, have another look, up it or lower it. You just keep doing that until you get. It's just better for reactions and aiming and stuff like that. That's most settings there. Gamepad triggers, so the left and right triggers. You just everything on low, so you get the quickest reactions. Right. So quickly back to gamepad schemes. I used to use alternate. So with that, you had I don't know, I can't remember. So on the right stick when you click in, it'll be crouch, so you can just crouch slide, or slide, sorry, on the right thumbstick. I've always liked that. So you're more than welcome to try that. I think that's everything to mention in controls. Let's get to gameplay. Right, gameplay. Show HUD. Obviously, you want the HUD on so you can see. Chat log, always active. Inventory, yeah. Kill log. Yeah, you want your kill log on. I think that's turned off by default. I think the default setting, I think it's turned off. So this is a setting how to turn it on. Kill log filter. All I use icons only, just because I've played the game for a long time. I don't need to. I think just having a symbol is quicker for identifying rather than reading text. It's just more simple and faster for me. I played the game for a long time, but I think if you're new to the game, you probably have icon and name, or just the name of the weapon. That's it's all good. It's all preference. Show score log. Okay, off. Awards. I tend to turn awards off just because I'm level 500. I've played for a long time. I don't want awards going off on my screen and stuff like that. I've pretty much unlocked everything anyway, so I don't really need it on. I just don't want it on my screen, when I'm in gunfights and stuff and there's just stuff going off and, oh, you've unlocked this, blocking my screen, and, that's why I turn off, essentially. Critical messages, share usage data off, shadow overlay. Yeah, just this setting, I think that's default. I think it just adds a little bit of a shadow behind, like white text and stuff like that. It is readability, I guess. Loadout mirroring. I have this on, so doesn't matter what faction, whether you're like American or like Axis or German or like the British soldiers, whether it's like assault, medic, support, doesn't matter what faction you're using, it should be all the same. Whether if you have it off, your setups will be different by the faction that you're using. I just have it on so everything's the same. Try to have it on if you can. Just makes it easier, You think you're running a certain setup but you're not. You're running something else. I just have it on. Crosshair visibility, 100%. I think that's a pretty much a must, isn't it? I think crosshair color. I just go with white nowadays. Sometimes I've gone with like a yellow or a green. Yeah, just have a little play about anything bright. You can easily see. Great, reflex and ADAS sight. I've actually changed this back to my settings. My settings did actually reset for some reason. I had to go through every single setting to, I don't know, Battlefield 5 does it sometimes, and I actually really like the default glow and the color, so that's what I've just done. I've just carried on with the default setting, and I really like it. So yeah, that's the sight color, something bright, easily visible, especially the way the gunplay works in this game, where the recoil is tied to the sight, so you want to be able to see your sight easily. So have a little experiment. I like the default color, to be honest, so it's always good for me. Hit indicator visibility, so the hit markers when you're shooting at people, this is what that is. Hit color, just for normal hit markers, I just have the standard white. Headshot hit color, I tend to sort of play about with this, but you want something like headshots are very important in this game. If you get a headshot on someone, you will kill them exceptionally quickly, so you really want to know when you get a headshot on someone, because you can push them to finish them off because they're low health, or but essentially you just want to know that you've done a lot of damage on someone, so you want to make it very easily visible. So like a bright green or a bright yellow, you know, or, you know, to say I've hit my kill color. So this is basically when you actually get the kill, like a kill confirmed sort of thing. I used to run pink a lot. Again, you know, it's quite similar to the headshot. You want something you can see easily, so you know when you've killed someone, so you can move over to the next target, or, you know, just forget about them. So, you know, I run black at the minute, but I have tried like pink in the past. But I have an experimentation with that. Damage based shape. Oh, that's if you're shooting like tanks or fortifications and stuff like that. Armor hit. I think that's just default. Sometimes you have it on blue, I think, or something like that. Again, you know, you don't really use armor, to be honest, but only in Firestorm. If you play Firestorm, you might want to use that. So, you know, but minimap, this is my minimap settings. You're more than welcome to increase the size. This is what I use. Rotate with view. The zoom, the on-foot zoom, the minimap size. These are my settings. If you ever watched a video of myself, or, you know, on stream on Twitch or anything, these are the settings I use. Default icon opacity. Now I've played around for this. So this is when you're just running about on the map, you know, on the HUD, just the default how it looks. Like the objectives, I've taken that down a bit because I don't think you need to really know. It just helps with screen clutter, you know. You don't necessarily need to know the objectives. Do you know what I mean? You can just look at above the mini map and see where the it's not, no, that's 2042, isn't it? Above at the top of the screen, you can see that ABC flag. You don't necessarily need that very high, I would say. But these are my settings, and then it's essentially the same settings but in ADS. So it's quite a nice setting, this one. I quite like it. I wish it was in more games, to be honest. You know, when you're ADS, you don't want to know what's going on objectives. You know, you don't want to know what gadgets. You don't want to danger ping. In ADS, all you want to know is where the enemies are. So, you know, you pretty much turn, this is what I've been using for the past however many years. Friendly soldier just on a little bit, so you can see who's a friendly or not. And then the enemy is just 100%. Yeah, that's what I use. Advanced. Parachute auto deploy. Context. Character lighting. I say, you know, really want this on. It just Battlefield 5, when it first launched, had a lot of, I mean, it still does have a lot of visibility problems in seeing people. When you have this on, it has like this sort of halo effect around character models, so they're more visible. That's quite an important setting, really. I always have that on. Soldier aim assist, I use 80%. I don't use, or didn't use, sorry, the zoom snap. I feel if you play a lot of Battlefield 5, you consider yourself quite a good player and you want to improve as a player, and, you know, I feel try and turn off zoom snap. I think you can get really good without it on. And, you know, if you play every day, turn it off. If you play once a week here and there, turn it on, forget about it. But I think it can sort of hurt your game if you really want to step it up a level, you know. And I would say, you know, just play about with the stickiness of the aim assist. I used to run 80%, but you can run 100%, you know. I think just for myself, for my personal preference, just 80% just takes a bit of that stickiness off of it. But yeah, vehicles, 100%. I didn't really use vehicles with controllers, so that's just default settings. Reload hint, you can have that on. It's what I use. Network performance stats. So if you ever watched any videos of mine, you can see the bar at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, like all the network information. Have that on a show always. I think it's really good. I think that's a really good saying for Battlefield. I love that. You can always turn the network graph on, so I have it like set up about here. You can show always. It's a bit obtrusive on the screen. You know, it's quite it's quite distracting sometimes if you have it on show on problems, so it only comes on when you get network problems. But I tend to just turn it off and on when I want to see if just in diagnosing network issues and stuff like that, see hit reg and such like that. But yeah, that's the settings I use. Right, I think that's everything for gameplay. Let's move on to audio. Now, there's not really a lot to mention in the audio section. This might be quite quick. Master volume on 100%, music volume. Although the music is very good in Battlefield 5, I don't generally have it on a lot. Especially when you're coming to the end of games, you've got the music blaring, and you want to sort of turn it off and so you can focus on the game. If you're sitting in menus and stuff, it's quite nice to have on. Just listen to it. It is very good music in Battlefield 5. As for like the sound presets, I've sort of experimented with these over the years. I don't think there's a lot of difference, man. Some people say, oh, 3D headphones, war tapes, headphones. I just say it to speakers. Just try out, to be honest. I think the footsteps in this game are quite hit or miss. Sometimes you hear people, sometimes you don't. It sort of depends on the server a lot of the time, and like high pingers and stuff like that. And it's just set it to speakers or headphones, and I think you'll just be good to go. And that's the rest. There's not a lot to talk about in there, so yeah. Right, so on the video section, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. I will be sort of like referencing other videos that I have made. Hopefully it won't get too annoying. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about in the video section, right? So here we go. So obviously you want full screen all the time. You get lower latency than say like windowed or borderless, or some games nowadays have, especially like DX12, they have borderless full screen, but anything that's not full screen in any game and for the future will have more input lag than native full screen. So if you can, run full screen. Set your monitor. Since my last video, I've actually moved to 1440p, 240Hz. It's a fantastic experience. Great, I'd say. 1440p is sort of, it's become in the future, especially with like these CPUs. These new CPUs are coming out. These GPUs, man, you can in Battlefield 5 you can get 300 average FPS. Like it's crazy. Like 1440p is good. Brightness, I tend to run quite high brightness in Battlefield 5 just because of visibility reasons. And say if I'm playing on a snow map like Fial, or like the rare occasion I step onto Narvik here and there, you take it down to like 49 or 59, just take these snow maps quite hard to see. So yeah. Now, field of view. I have made a video in the past about field of view, the strengths, the weaknesses versus like low FOV versus high FOV. I'll leave a little link at the top. Or in the description, sorry, if you'd like to just go into a bit more detail about the strengths and the weaknesses. I play pretty much mid-range sort of field of view. Now, a little poll that I had on the YouTube channel, actually, it's quite on the low side in Battlefield 5. I'd say, just to quickly sum it up, I think if you play quite aggressive player, you want to get involved, it might be preferential to increase your FOV. I would say as you sort of decrease your FOV, it does get quite hard. It's quite a hard experience. You have to be a good player to play at low FOV, just because you have to rely on what's going on around you, like your game awareness, your positioning, sort of core FPS traits more, because you lack that sort of peripheral vision. So it's not for everybody, low FOV, and I would say generally it's more beneficial to increase your FOV. Especially how the recoil works in this game and like the perception of recoil. That's another video I've made. But yeah, if you want to watch the FOV video, everything you need to know, I'll leave a little link. Same as vehicle, FOV, exactly the same. ADS FOV, on versus off. So again, I've made another video where I can talk about the strengths and weaknesses on versus off. It's quite similar to field of view, like the at the conclusion. You know, if you're quite an aggressive player, you know, like the CK, like the Sturm, you want to get involved, it might be more beneficial to run ADS FOV on, just because the transition at higher FOVs, if you are a more aggressive player, it is a bit more beneficial, I think. And then ADS FOV off, it's quite jarring. Essentially, just when you have ADS FOV off, the field of view will go to the default FOV of 55, whereas if you have it on, it will just stay to your FOV that you're currently running. So if you're running 105 max FOV, when you ADS, it will scale to 105. But if you're at 105 and you ADS, it will scale to the default FOV of 55. Sorry. So this is a setting that as you increase your FOV, it gets a bit more jarring as if you run ADS FOV. But if you're an aggressive player, stick it on. If you're a bit slower, a bit more like play the mid range, that's sort of, you might sort of like ADS FOV, particularly on like the 3x SLR weapons and sniping and stuff like that. You might quite like that. But like I said, if you want to watch the video where I sort of go through all the strengths and weakness, you know, you're more than welcome to get to it. But I'd say if you're quite aggressive, to keep it on. Motion blur 0%. You don't want any motion blur unless you run the config file, which you set to 1% with the no anti-aliasing. ADS depth of field effects, so essentially on your weapon, when you have it on, your weapon will have like a blur, which I don't really like. It's sort of personal preference. Some people like it, some people don't. I like it off, but you know, you're more than welcome to give it a go. Custom color, I run Tritanopia, so you get this like deep red. I quite like that. You can go like custom, or you know, to make your own. That's pretty cool. That's a great saying. But I run Tritanopia. Chromatic, aberration, film grain, vignette, lens distortion, just turn them all off. Turn them all off. You know, if you're a single player, get that immersion, yeah, 100%. But in a single player, anything that can impact visibility in this game, you want it off. So just turn it off. Forget about it. Right, so video, DX12 enabled. So when you have this off, it goes into DX11. So if I just put Afterburn on, you should be able to see it. You can see with it off, I'm on DX11. If you have it on, you'll be on DX12. I have made a video about the differences between DX11 and DX12. Again, I'll leave it in the description. But generally, I think just latency wise, DX11 is better. I mean, from my testing, I do actually get more FPS in DX12, but it's not native full screen. DX12 it's a very stuttery experience as well. And as someone who plays different games, single player games, where I'm updating my drivers a lot, I didn't want to have to go through that building the shaders process all the time. So I think, honestly, just first time you beat up the game, just play DX11, experiment with DX12 if you would like. But I think DX11, you're just good to go. High dynamic range, turn it off. Resolution scale, 100%, you know, 1440p. You can, so I wouldn't really bother with that. You can sort of increase it if you can to get your CPU usage lower, or your GPU a bit more. So you run like 125 on the GPU. So if you're a bit on a CPU bottleneck or something, you can put more load onto your graphics card or something. But I generally just say just keep it as it is. You know, just keep it as it is. Frame rate limiter, I have that monitor refresh rate, but because I use the config file that we talked about earlier, I have unlocked. Just because I'm recording this, I've capped it at 60, but as you can see, if I put it on, it's pretty much uncapped now. Yeah, future frame rendering on. Now this is a setting I've experimented with a lot in Battlefield 5. Again, you know, I have another video of like static tests on versus off, or in-game scenarios on versus off. You're more than welcome to watch them videos. Again, you know, I'll leave a little link in the description. I'm sorry if that's getting annoying, but you know, if you do want to sort of look into this sort of stuff, you know, I've made videos about it. Yeah, but I would say it doesn't work on DX12 future frame rendering. It only works in DX11. I would say stick it on. It does say increase in input lag, but you know, it's only small. It's only a small input. You know, I think players see that it increases input lag. It's like, oh, I've got to turn it off. But the thing is, you lose so much FPS by having this on. By having this off, sorry. And you know, by having it on, you know, having the more FPS, you know, it kind of negates that input lag, and it's more beneficial to have it on. I do have some gameplay in the background of like with two different setups on two different PCs. I've got my 7800X3D 3070 Ti, future frame rendering off and on, and then I have my laptop, which is in comparison is a very weak PC. You know, with future frame rendering off versus on. In the background, you can see, you know, it's very PC dependent. I think that the faster your PC, the better your CPU, your GPU, the more FPS you're going to get, and the more of the difference future frame rendering on is going to. So yeah, vertical sync, VSync, turn it off. UI upscaling, auto, GPU memory restriction, turn that off. I've never really. I think it's if your GPU's a bit VRAM limited, you'd sort of have it on. But you know, I've never had a GPU which has been VRAM limited in Battlefield 5, so I just turn it off. And I think it's probably like GPUs now, like 20 series, 10 series. Like I think you'll be fine. You'll be fine to have it off. HUD scaling. Now, this is a setting that I've experimented with since moving to 1440p. So essentially, it was when I was playing at 1080p, it was like 50%, and to get my UI exactly the same as like my 1080p settings, quote unquote, you know, like the UI, the scaling, and the crosshair as well. If you increase the HUD scaling, it actually matches my 1080p settings, and the crosshair actually increases in size. And I think this setting's has helped me out quite a lot. I've got a little comparison in the background showing you like the differences with it on versus off. That's helped me out. So you know, if you have moved to 1440p, or you know, it's a little thing you can try, or just keep it at default, which I think is either 50% or 40%. But yeah, I tend to run 100% now. Graphic settings. Now, you know, I like just getting high FPS, low latency. I'm not interested in, you know, like visual stuff and stuff like that. I'm just wanting the most FPS. So everything on low, and you're good to go. And I think that's it for gameplay. I think that's it for video. I think. Right. Keybinds. Now, there's not a lot to mention here. Everything is pretty much default, I think, except probably for my keybinds, which are I think I mentioned previously. The lean mechanic is, yeah, here we go. Zoom lean left while zooming. Q. Lean right is E. Mouse free crouch is mouse free buttons on the left side mouse button. Sprint slide is again same. Prone is on my mouse button, left side mouse button again, and that's pretty much it. That's everything else is default. Default settings that I can see. Yeah, I think that's all to mention for the keybinds. There's not really a lot in there, to be honest. Yeah, and I think, actually, go into the about section. If you want to look at your stats and stuff like that, you would have this one here, share game data publicly. You would have that on, or you know, off if you don't really like looking at your stats. But it's just keep it on. Keep it on. You're good to go. And I think that's it. I think that's it for the settings guide. Hopefully I've helped you out. I'm sorry for the references and references to other videos. It's probably getting annoying at this point, but you know, it's there. It's there if you want it. Yeah, so hopefully this helped you out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a like if you can. More videos on the way. This might be my last Battlefield 5 settings video. So, you know, the new game will be coming out in a year or so. It might be the last one, but you never know. We might make another one if there's some new things to talk about. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I've helped you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you boys in the next one.